All right, for the second part of segment number 1, we are now going to dive into vehicle combat. Remember, this is a tactical war game, so it's going to have many tactical elements to it. It isn't just going to be random, like, hey, if you're going at this speed, make a control roll and see if you can shoot out the window. No, there are going to be ranges and pew-pews and facing requirements and so forth. And you know what? Anybody who's ever played a game like World of Tanks or just knows about tanks in general, you'll know that facing can actually mean something, can thicken your armor. Is that going to happen in this game? Probably not, but we'll find out right about now. Of course, like, subscribe, and share if you like these videos. I actually clicked on the wrong button, so I had to wing it. Check the description of this video to find out how you can support Legion of Myth, and if you're a content creator, how you can ditch StreamYard. Because StreamYard is no longer content creator friendly by over doubling. It's actually 125% or 128%, depending on which plan you have, increase. Not 25, 100, it's over double. So if you're a content creator, check the description, and we got an option for you there. Okay, so let's get to our vehicle combat. I think it was on page 83. Vehicle combat, there it is. And here we go. This is going to be a dense one, so bear with me, folks. Let's see if we can get through this without falling apart here. You are going to fall apart, Cat. Vehicles can be the key to survival in the grim world of Twilight 2000, moving you across the devastated battlefields and protecting you from enemies at the same time. Yet, vehicles can be a real hassle to keep running, and they can turn you into a target for marauders looking to steal your ride. When I was in the Air Force and we'd go through combat training, one of the first things they tell us is vehicles are a bullet magnet. Either get away or get away. Either get away in the vehicle or get away out of the vehicle. They are bullet magnets. So a large number of vehicles, both military and civilian, are described in Chapter 5 of this book. This section explains how to use them in combat. By the way, this won't cover naval. We'll actually cover the Navy in the last segment, I think in 4 weeks, when we dive into hostile waters, and we'll look at how boats work. This section explains how to use them in combat. Travel rules for vehicles are covered in Chapter 6, which is not next week. It is the week after. Getting in and out. Getting into or out of a vehicle is typically a slow action. Getting on or off a motorcycle or a bicycle is a fast action. Apparently that door slows you down. Okay. Starting a vehicle is typically a fast action. So to get into your vehicle and start it is your turn.
Your whole round. Yeah. It's all your actions.
Vehicle movement. The combat speed ratings of your vehicle indicates how many 10-meter hexes you can safely drive with a single fast action in combat. So if you have a vehicle movement rate, speed rating of 3, you can move 3 hexes. On-road and off-road, respectively. Only pavement hexes count as on-road. You can drive in any direction you want, ending the movement facing any direction you like. Oh, wow. Okay, so... Wow.
Okay, you're allowed to skid out at the end?
Left or right? I guess. What if I just want to... whatever. Okay. Again, it's for ease of play. If you make a driving roll directly after having moved the safe distance, you can move a further number of hexes equal to the combat speed plus 1 for each success you roll beyond the first. I hope there's an example for that, because I'm reading this maybe different than what...
Yeah. The way I'm reading it, or the way I'm understanding it, is that you can go the number 3, like you said earlier, example, 3 hexes, and if you make the roll, you can go another 3 plus 1 for each success. That's what it seems like.
So what's your driving skill?
C.
Really? I thought you had a... Okay, so driving falls under agility, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll.
Okay, that's C and B, so it's going to be a D6 and a D8?
No, D8, D10.
Oh, D8, D10, okay. No success.
So you went another 3 hexes then?
Yeah.
Okay, roll with your roll until you get at least 1 success.
There you go. Got 1.
Okay, got 1 success. Way I read it is you went 3, and then you went 4. So you went a total of 7 hexes.
Yeah, that's how it seems, but it can't be. It can't be.
Well, we'll find out. The roll is modified.
Total. Every success gives you 1 more beyond the safe capacity of your vehicle. That's what I'm assuming it really means.
But it says a further number of hexes equal to the combat speed plus 1. So yeah, all right. Well, we'll see. I think there's an example here, and I normally skip the examples, but people have been more and more dinging me on that, so maybe we'll have time to do it. This is gonna be a long chapter, though. This roll is modified by the terrain type of the hex you're in after having moved the safe driving distance. If such a driving roll fails, you get stuck after having moved the safe distance. So if that first roll failed, right?
I got stuck. Yeah.
So you got stuck. Place a stuck marker. So you probably would have had to push that roll and possibly done damage. So we'll say that second roll then was a push. Did you have any ones in there?
No.
Okay. So you didn't do any damage to anything. Place a stuck marker on your vehicle token on the battle map. Getting unstuck. When stuck, you need to make another driving roll, slow action, to get loose. Rock that baby! Modified by the type of terrain the vehicle is currently in. If this roll also fails, the vehicle becomes bogged down. Now you need to get out of the vehicle and make a stamina roll, taking one stretch, to get the vehicle moving again. Somebody's got to push.
You got the tires, yeah.
This is why in Minnesota, we always carried either shingles, roofing shingles, or kitty litter in the car.
Yep.
I still have kitty litter in the car. Just an old habit.
You're in Alabama. There is no reason to have that.
I know.
Yeah. All right.
To get the vehicle, so make a stamina roll, taking one stretch, that's 10 minutes, to get the vehicle moving again. Others can help you if you use another vehicle, at least as large as the bogged down vehicle. You get a +2 modifier. Hey, so you know what? If the tank behind you, for whatever reason, decides to push you, all right, +2 modifier. Facing, this is probably going to be important. On the battle map, you must indicate the direction in which your vehicle is facing at the end of movement and rotate the token accordingly. At the end of so the tokens, you can see which direction. We'll see that in the examples here. You'll be able to see the directions. The token must always face one side of the hex. You can't aim towards a point. You have to aim towards the side of the hex. So there's 6 positions you can be in. As a driver, you can choose to rotate your vehicle in any direction, any number of times during your movement action. It's not an action itself. You cannot change your facing any other time. So according to this, you can spin in circles for an hour.
But there is only one time you can do it, and only the driver can do it, and that's it.
Yeah. Reliability. Vehicles have a reliability rating just like any other gear. For each boom boom, a 1 you rolled after pushing a driving roll. This is why I asked Heathen Dog that question. The reliability rating is reduced by 1 step. Well, his was not because he didn't roll a 1. If it drops to 0, the vehicle breaks down and becomes inoperable before the extra movement, but after the safe distance. So you went your normal movement, you make your driving roll. Let's just say it's got a reliability of 1. He's messed around with it. This thing is on its last leg. They got to get it fixed. He rolls. It doesn't make it, so he goes to push his roll. He gets a 1. Reliability drops to 0. Even though he got successes, he does not get that extra distance. It happens after the safe, before the extra.
Sure.
See Chapter 5 for more. So here we go. Vehicle facing. This is what a token looks like. You can see it there. You have to notice this is facing a line. You cannot face a point. This is why there's a big red X through it. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, we're going to read the example here so that maybe we'll get some information. Diaz is driving
on that ruling.
Diaz is driving the M113 along a deserted road when Jonesy with a cat is driving. Riding unbuttoned, suddenly spots a roadblock up ahead. A T-72 tank. 25 hexes away, swivels its turret menacingly toward them. Luckily, Diaz wins the initiative and drives the M113 off the road, toward a copse of trees that will block the line of fire for the tank. The M113 has an off-road combat speed of 3. Hey, good example. Meaning it can safely move 3 hexes per fast action. The cover is 8 hexes distance. So Diaz rolls driving to double the movement of her second action.
Double. Okay, it is double. And then it gives you an extra 1 for every success, probably. Okay.
The M113 is in a hex of shrubland at this point, so Diaz gets a -1 modifier. She fails despite pushing. And the M113 gets stuck before reaching safety.
You better get out.
To make matters worse, Diaz rolled a boom boom, dropping the reliability rating of the M113 1 step.
Wow.
And you got a T-72 going.
Yeah. Diaz, number 1, you're fired. Number 2, I'm out.
Okay. Smoke launchers. A smoke launcher is fired with a slow action without the need for a die roll. for a dice roll. Okay, are these Canadian? Oh, they're Swedes. It fills all hexes adjacent to the one occupied by the vehicle with dense smoke. I'm going to be hung up on this all day now. This is going to stay in my head. It's singular as die in American English. Thank you. Attacks on vehicles from small arms fire generally gets a +2 modifier due to the size of the target. Heavy weapons don't get this modifier, and it does not apply to bicycles and motorcycles. And we talked about that during combat. I do like the fact now, somebody complained about the Palladium stuff, saying duplication of effort, blah, blah, blah. I like it when rules like this are duplicated, because if I'm the guy shooting the rifle and I want to know what it's like to shoot a vehicle, it's in my combat section. If I'm in the vehicle and I want to know what it's like for somebody to shoot me with a rifle, it's in the vehicle combat section. This is actually good, having that rule in here twice, as long as it's consistent. Firing from a vehicle, no matter if it's a handheld or mounted weapon, suffers a -2 modifier if the vehicle is moved since the shooter's previous turn. As somebody who simulated shooting and moving in a vehicle, I can tell you it is a pain in the butt. This modifier is negated by stabilizers. Or I would say that being on just a nice straight road also helps out. But when you're driving through even what looks like a flat field, it's not as flat as you think it is.
Yeah. Fields are not golf courses, all right? They are not manicured and curated to be flat. They're not flat.
If the target vehicle is moved since the shooter's previous turn, the attack gets a -1 modifier. And that makes sense. If you're moving and they're moving, you got all this going on here. Yeah, it's going to be harder to hit. So we go back to Heathen Dog's skill. Do you have heavy weapon skill? Yeah. You have heavy weapons? Okay. Yep. So what is your heavy weapon skill?
C.
So, and what's your heavy weapons are you holding it or is it mounted?
It's mounted, so it's
okay.
Agility.
Agility.
Yeah,
so that's B. So you're rolling a D, but before you roll, hold on. So that's a D10 and D8, right?
Yep.
But it's actually going to be -3.
So it's going to be a D6, D8.
D6, D6, isn't it?
Take away 1. -3. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2D6.
So when both us and some people are saying, wow, it seems like it's really easy to hit in this game.
It's not.
Always remember the modifiers. This game does have a pretty good, in its simplistic form that we can quibble about, it does have a pretty good grasp of general tactics, where if you are mounted, if you're shooting from a stable position, if you're shooting at a decent range, if you're using the weapon for its intended purpose, yeah, you've got a good chance of hitting. But isn't that why weapons are developed? If you're on a tank trying to use that 50 caliber, that M60 or whatever they've got mounted, on the tank, and you're rolling and they're rolling, it's not easy to hit. So he's still got a chance. So go ahead and roll those 2d6. Let's see if you hit.
Oh my God, a 6 and a 2. I did it.
Yeah, 1 success. That's all you need. You hit. Now, of course, you're using like an M60 against a tank, so we'll have to worry about armor later. But at least you plinked off of it a couple of times, right?
I scared somebody in there.
You go. All right. So we're moving target. We already did that. Angle of attack. The position of the attacker as relative to the vehicle and its facing determines the angle of attack. Front, side, or rear. There is a chart. We'll look at that. Yeah, see diagram on next page. So we'll take a look at that in a moment. Damage. When a vehicle is hit by an attack, damage is calculated just like for an attack on a person. The damage done is equal to the base damage rating of the weapon +1 for each success. Well, you didn't roll ammo dice because we were just doing you just plunked one shot. Boom.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible, but you did it. And you hit. So good on you. So +1 for each success or bullet. This is if you're rolling the ammo dice rolled. Armor. Most vehicles have armor and often different armor levels on the front, sides, and rear. This is why facing matters. Use the armor level of whichever part of the vehicle is facing the attacker. Remember, if it's a minefield, do you remember what angle you use? Oh, you weren't here last week. That's right.
No, I wasn't.
It's the rear.
Okay.
So use rear armor for mines. And I think the reason for that is the under of a tank is pretty weak, and usually the rear armor of a tank is the weakest. So they just kind of consolidated those two. Use armor whichever the vehicle is facing the attacker and apply armor modifier of the weapon. Just as for body armor, the damage done is reduced by the modified armor level. Well, my guess is that this tank has a higher armor rating than 1. So chance of his weapon. Now his weapon probably has a base damage of 3 or 4 also. So we'll see. penetration limit. Now, this is going to be the interesting part, which makes vehicles a solid place to sometimes be if it has armor. If the base damage rating of the weapon is 2 steps lower than the modified armor level or more, the attack is fully deflected no matter how many successes.
Yep. This is simulated MDC right here. That's what this is.
Yeah.
If you don't have a big enough weapon, you're just never ever going to be able to damage this piece of armor because you just physically can't.
Right.
Yeah.
What this matters more for, though, is for the ammo dice than it does for the successes. Because if you roll, let's say your weapon does 3 damage, and you roll 2d12, whatever reason, you got a nice 2d12 attack, and you got all 4 successes, right? So it'd be 1 for the hit, so that'd be 3 damage, right? And then 1 for each extra, so 3 more. So you theoretically could do 6 damage. If the armor rating of that tank is 6, well, that's not 2 steps lower. That's equal to you.
But yeah, except it says base damage rating of the weapon is 3. So if the armor rating is at least 5, I cannot damage that weapon.
You're right. Good catch.
Base
Good catch.
damage.
Base damage.
Base
Okay.
damage.
Good catch. Good catch. Okay. Well, then I'm moving on. Ablating armor. If the armor of the vehicle is penetrated by the attack, roll a d6 base die. On a boom boom, its armor level is decreased by 1 point. So if you successfully damage the tank and it rolls a 1, its armor level is decreased by 1 point. This is to show that armor is degrading. Armor can be repaired with a tech roll and a shift of work. Each success restores 1 point of armor level up to the original rating. That makes sense. I actually like these rules. I mean, they're very simplistic, but I like them. I like degrading armor, but not having to calculate crap like Battlelords of the 23rd century.
Yeah.
Component damage. Component damage is damage to a specific part of the vehicle or passenger. When a vehicle is hit, roll a d10 on the table on page 84. Just go ahead and re-roll a d10 now, because I don't want to look at the table. Let's see what you get.
6.
Okay, hold on to that 6.
Got it.
If the hit penetrated the armor of the vehicle, use the penetration column of the table. Reduce the damage inflicted by the modified armor level of the vehicle before applying the results. Okay. I think I get that. And yeah, there's the facing. We'll look at that in a moment. If you roll a component not present in the vehicle or already destroyed, move up 1 row in the table until you reach a component that is present. So you're guaranteed an actual damage. Okay. I'm okay with that, I guess. I kind of like the idea of luck behind the concept of hitting the same, broken piece twice.
Oh my God, he hit our right passenger wheel. It's already dead. Okay, cool. All right.
But I get it for the purposes of a game. Yeah. If the hit did not penetrate the armor, use the no penetration column. In this case, apply the full damage of the attack, not reduced by armor. Okay. I think I would have to, I get this conceptually, I think, but I would have to actually play it in action once or twice to fully grasp it. So I'm not going to try to provide you an example in discussion here. If you roll a component not present on the vehicle already destroyed, do not move up the table. Instead, the attack has no effect.
So if it penetrated, it moved through your vehicle and it would have hit a 1 component, but if that component's already destroyed or damaged, it just kept moving through until it hit something else. Yep. That's why they did that.
But if it doesn't penetrate and you already took out the tracks, I'm guessing that's one you're not going to take out the tracks a second time, or it's just no more effect. That's my guess. We'll see in a moment. Yeah. Exactly what happens when a particular component is hit, explain in this section. Okay. And then secondary damage for penetrating hits only. Then we'll do one of each. We'll use that 6 that Heathen Dog has for both a penetrating and a non-penetrating. If the damage done exceeds what is needed to destroy or incapacitate a component, the remaining damage continues to hit another component. Wow. If the damage done exceeds what is needed to destroy or incapacitate a component, the remaining damage. So if you do 4, if somehow your damage breaks through by, say, 3 points. I'm using that number 3 a lot today. Yeah. And the component only can take 2 points of damage, that last point goes to another component.
Which I'm sure is just move up on the list.
Holy wow, were you delayed there?
And that one too. Yeah.
I saw your lips move and you talked like 2 seconds later.
Really?
Well, now it's 1 second. It seems to be better now.
Okay.
Anyway. Where are we? The rain dam continues to move row by row up the table toward number 1 until you reach a component that is present. Repeat this procedure till all damage points have been distributed. Non-penetrating hits never cause secondary damage. Okay, so first things first, let's look at this. Hopefully you guys can see that fairly well. So as you're facing, you can see the front of the tank faces to the north, right? So this is the front angle, nice and easy. Again, I've got a quibble with this, but the quibble is just a personal thing, so I'm not going to argue with it. This makes it nice and easy to hit the front, the rear, the side, the side. My quibble is that sides should be bigger than the front, but whatever.
Yeah.
But if you look at front and rear are actually bigger than the sides, I don't care. It's a game. I'll get over it. I personally would have done it right here, though.
Yeah, it should be the opposite.
Yeah. Well, I just would have done it like zigzag. Instead of going over here, I would have zigzagged it back up here. Like that, and then back up here. But anyway, who cares? Like, we see how it is here. It's nice and simple for the purpose of a game. Now, let's look at... okay, all right, here we go. You got a 6, huh?
Yep.
So on your penetration... Oh, dude, you killed the driver. Well, at least you hit the driver.
Hit the driver. That's right. Hit the driver. Now, the thing is, the armor still took damage. Still took away damage, but because it was a penetrating round, it got through the armor. What is left goes to the driver.
Yep.
That sucks. Hope I'm not driving.
Yep. Right?
Johnny's driving. That's it.
I mean, think about it. You know, tank shells have been known to enter a tank and then bounce around. Now, no penetration, external stores. So a lot of times they like to put fuel on the outside,
or
extra
cargo
track
or whatever. Yeah,
or not a full track, but pieces of a track. Yeah. So
track repair kit. Yeah.
Now let's arbitrarily say that the previous shot killed the driver, but Heathen Dog's a jerk and he keeps shooting into this thing. So the next thing would be, well, there's no driver. Driver's already done. Well, now it's cargo. Remember, you move up the chart.
Yep. If you don't have a cargo, then it goes up again. If you're out of ammunition, then it goes up again.
Yep. I am not going to read all of these. Buy the game if you want to know all of them. I am going to read ammo though, because I want to know what an ammo explosion does in the game.
Yeah, that sounds disastrous.
Let's make sure we're
Usually
not missing.
It is. And I saw it too. It was exactly to the right of the chart.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there's nothing really important. Explosive hits. I will read that. If a weapon with an explosive effect, as in it has blast power, so it goes boom, penetrates the armor of a vehicle, all occupants of the vehicle suffer the effects of the explosion, in addition to any direct damage. So if that was an exploding round that hit the driver, okay, the driver's toast.
The driver's dead because he took direct damage and exploding damage. Everyone else is also taking exploding damage. It's gonna suck to be in my ride at that point.
Yes, it is. The blast power is not decreased by the armor. Why? Because it's inside.
Yeah, it just keeps bouncing around. It doesn't dissipate. It hits you again.
Bailing out. Occupants of a vehicle that is penetrated by an attack must make an immediate call under coolness under fire roll. Even if not hurt by the attack. Well,
that doesn't matter. There was an explosion inside. We're out.
Anyone who fails the roll must immediately bail out on his next turn, and it's a slow action to exit the vehicle. This effect replaces the normal effects of a coolness under fire roll. Inoperable and destroyed hits to the engine, fuel tank, suspension, tracks, or wheels of vehicle can render it inoperable and unable to be driven further until it is repaired. A hit to the fuel tank or ammunition store in a vehicle can cause, because it is true, it isn't an automatic, can cause it to become permanently destroyed. Kaboom, boom. Watching turrets pop off a tank is actually kind of fun. Meaning it cannot be repaired. Okay, let's say this again. Cause to become permanently destroyed. So I don't remember, and I probably should, but I don't remember. So what I'm saying here are standard Free League rules, not necessarily Twilight 2000 rules. Okay, because I don't remember. In standard Free League, if you have gear and it gets reduced to 0. It's considered broken. You can't use it, but it is repairable. If you go to 0 and then take more damage, it is destroyed. It is irreparably unrepairable, right? Irreparably destroyed. That is what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
If you take an ammo hit or a fuel hit,
Or fuel tank.
yeah, can cause you to become permanently destroyed, meaning it cannot be repaired. It can still be scavenged for, well, some spare parts, I guess. Remember, spare parts in the game are literally just called spare parts. You don't comment, well, I have one
There's
engine.
No differentiation. There's no wheels or transmission or whatever. It's just all spare parts.
And personally, I like that. I like it for the sake of simplicity, so it doesn't turn into a spreadsheet simulator. All right. We are not going to read fuel even. We're just going to read ammo explosion because it's the only one I care about. The rest of them, you guys can read on your own if you get the game, which, again, I got quibbles about it, but I do like it. I like what the game is putting out there for the purposes of what it's doing. Ammunition. The main ammunition store is hit. If the attack inflicts 1 point of damage, half of the ammunition in the vehicle is destroyed. Okay. If the attack inflicts 2 points of damage, all of the ammunition is lost. And the excess damage continues to hit another component. What would it be?
Sure. Well, look at the chart. It's right
ammo.
there.
Suspension.
Ammo. Suspension. Okay, yeah. You can't shoot anymore, and now you can't move.
Yeah. In addition, ammunition for heavy weapons risks exploding when hit. If the attack inflicted
for a tank.
If attack inflicted 1 point of damage, there is a 50% risk of explosion. Roll a 4 or higher and a d6. If the attack inflicted 2 points of damage, explosion will definitely occur. I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm okay with it. If the ammunition explodes, the blast power of the explosion is equal to the blast power of the ammunition in question, increased by 1 step up to a maximum of A. Now, if you were here last week and saw how explosions work, guess what happens to everybody in that tank?
They die.
If you live through that, technically, but not realistically possible. You're not happy with life.
You've got critical injuries.
You wish you were dead.
Yeah, you're burned. It's bad. It's bad.
In addition, the vehicle is completely destroyed beyond repair.
Yep.
All right. So good stuff there. And can you star Ron Niabati's comment? Because I think that's a good one to talk about later. Okay, cool, perfect. And we're going to move on because, like I said, this is a long chapter. We don't have to look at what every single thing that breaks does. Called shots. You can aim for
shots in the tank. I got to hear this.
You can aim for a specific external component of a vehicle. You can aim for the tracks, wheels, weapons, rangefinder, etc., by accepting a -2 modifier. If firing small arms, this modifier is offset by the +2 for firing at a vehicle, so it's just a normal shot for you. You can only hit the tracks or wheels with an attack from the side, not from the front. Never mind. Okay, fine. Called shots will never penetrate armor.
Okay.
Again, quibble, but if it makes sense for game purposes, I understand. Scavenging parts. If you spend a shift scavenging parts from a functional or inoperable vehicle, make a tech roll. You can find a number of vehicle spare parts equal to the number of successes you roll. Okay. If the vehicle you scavenge is permanently destroyed, you can still scavenge it, but you'll find 1 less spare part, meaning you'll need to roll at least 2 successes, so 2 6s or higher, to find a single usable part. The vehicle you scavenge is permanently destroyed in the process and can never be scavenged again, even by another person.
Oh, okay. So if it wasn't permanently destroyed before, it is now because you've taken components from it, and
right.
Oh man, now it can't be fixed.
Yeah. Which I like. I honestly, scavenging is one of my favorite rules in this game, and I think it's also in Coriolis. I've actually taken the idea into my game if I should ever write it. Ramming. You can use your vehicle as a weapon against other vehicles as well as against individuals. The attack counts as a fast action and can only be directed at a target in the same hex. Make an opposed roll for driving. If the target is an individual, instead rolls mobility. Wait, make an opposed roll for driving. Oh, if you're trying to...
If you're trying to ram another vehicle, you both make driving rolls. If you're trying to ram a person, you make a driving roll, they make a mobility roll.
Okay. The roll only counts as an action for you, the attacker.
That's because for the other person, it is reactionary.
Right. If you hit, you inflict damage equal to the rear armor level of your vehicle, +1 for each success you roll beyond the first.
What? It should be the armor that you hit them with, I mean, shouldn't it?
I would say no, but here's my issue. I have an issue with all of this. But for the purposes of game, it's consistent. I'll just put it that way. I don't think your armor level should matter. I think it should be the size and weight of your tank that should matter.
Well, size and speed.
Yeah, fair.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
that's right. Size, weight, same thing. Yeah, speed. Yeah. But to be fair, if you're running with paper thin armor, even if you're big and you're mashing into a main battle tank, but I'm okay with it. It is weird, but I'm okay with it. Maybe there's a rationale for it.
Well, I guess they're thinking of it like this. They're keeping it consistent because when you're running over somebody, it says running over, and landmines use rear armor for damage prevention.
Yes.
So you're running someone over. They're in the bottom, so it's rear. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Also, maybe when we look at vehicles next week, we'll look at vehicles next week. Maybe we'll get an understanding of what that means a little more. Again, I don't care. Rules are rules. We're playing in this game universe, so it's not a big deal to me. It is just a kind of an interesting one that stands out to both of us, right?
Yeah.
All right. The attacking. Okay, so if you hit, you inflict damage equal to rear +1 for each success you roll beyond the first. When ramming another vehicle, the attacking vehicle also suffers damage equal to the rear armor level of the target vehicle, unmodified.
Okay.
The target vehicle is hit on the side facing the attacker. So what this is saying is that because you are the attacker, you're in more control of the damage. You're going to sustain a static amount. Your driving skill versus the person's driving skill is going to determine how much more you do. So, because you're in control, you're the one making the attack, but you are still mashing a big object into another big object, and you're going to take something.
And the last sentence is very telling too. The target vehicle is hit on the side facing the attacker, while the attacking vehicle always suffers damage to the front, and usually front armor is the most.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So you have advantage. It's not great, but it's advantage.
Now, let's see how much damage you take from running over a person. The crit threshold for ramming attacks against individuals is 2. That's it. 2.
So, and your rear armor is probably more than 2 just right there. So there you go.
And you're going to want to roll successes. So you've probably squished somebody. The attacking vehicle suffers no damage. Oh. Horses can be a good alternative to a vehicle, especially if fuel is scarce. Rules for traveling using horses can be found on 142, and we will cover traveling in 2 weeks.
Okay.
In combat, a horse has a combat speed just like a vehicle, typically 2, both on and off-road. When riding, you can double its movement in the same way, but roll for mobility instead of driving. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Ranged combat, firing a one-handed firearm from horseback gives a -2 modifier. Okay. Well, I guess I would say unless the horse is stationary. But of course, once you fire it, good luck with that horse being stationary. The rider especially negates these mod. Oh, that makes sense. Let's go. Let me because I skipped a part.
No, I get it. Yeah, if you have the rider specialty, you are very trained on performing combat from a mounted position, so you can actually steady yourself with just your legs, wrapping your body around whatever, and use 1 and 2 hands without the modifier because you're trained in it.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with this. Now I want to read that again because I did miss a part that might be important. Firing a one-handed firearm from horseback is a -2 modifier, and a two-handed firearm gets a -3 modifier because you have no control of that horse other than your legs at that point. So but the rider especially negates these. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You must decide if you want to attack the rider or the horse. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
You attack the horse every time. I mean, the hell.
Poor horsey. Close combat. You can fight from horseback in close combat, but only with a one-handed weapon. When striking a mounted target, you must decide if you attack the rider or horse. Attacks against the rider get a -1 modifier. Because a horse isn't trying to dodge you necessarily, that other person doesn't want to be hit by your sword or axe or whatever you're using. Man, can you imagine the brutality of this?
Yeah, horses are going to die a lot. Just all the times.
Damage. A horse can suffer damage just like humans. If your mount is hit, it makes no coolness under fire roll. Instead, you must make an immediate mobility roll or be thrown off, suffering 1 point of damage. This is when you're going with the elephants. It's time to Hannibal this thing. The hit capacity of a typical horse is 5. A horse that is incapacitated must be saved by a medical aid roll within a shift, or it needs to be put down. Horses heal 1 point of damage per shift, just like humans. Any critical injury on a horse is considered immediately fatal. Unless you're a veterinarian.
I don't see that here anymore.
I know. There's no veterinarian skill.
No.
Okay, boats. These vehicle rules are found. These vehicles rules are focused on land vehicles. Boats generally follow the same rules. We will cover. I'm just going to skip the rest of this right now because I don't care. If you want to know what it says here, pause it. We are going to cover hostile waters in 1, 2, 3 weeks, and we will talk about naval combat rules at that point. How many more is there here? Oh, we're done. Sweet. I thought that was going to take longer.
No. Well, it already took 40 minutes or so.
I seriously thought it was going to be over an hour. Cool. Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, as you can see, next week we are going to cover weapons, vehicles, and gear. And then there's a lot of pages. We're going to skip ahead. The other thing that we're going to cover is, I think it's 134, the home base, which it's only 3 pages. That's it. That's your home base right there. That's what we're going to cover next week.
Okay.
So what do we got started?
And Ron Niabati says vehicle rules are a lot more wargaming.
Yeah. I like the vehicle rules. I actually like them better than the rules we've covered up to this point. I do. They're more consistent, I think, and they covered some of the things. Now, I want to make a comment out there about the people who keep sending me either Discord messages or comments about the armor, the rules for how armor works in the game. Yes, I know the rules for how armor work in the game exist, but they exist in examples. They don't exist in the actual rules. And I'm not going to look up vehicle rules when I want to figure out if my rifle gets through Heathen Dog's Kevlar armor. Okay? Oh, wow. I read rule books. I know what the armor rule is. And I honestly, personally, I get the game and I can play it. Let's do it. Let's go. When we're complaining about the armor rules, we don't think this is the worst book ever written. We don't think that, oh my God, this game is a fail because of that mistake, but it is a pretty big one.
It's a big error. I mean, they omitted 2 to 4 paragraphs from this book that, in my opinion, are vital to combat. Right. Armor is vital to combat.
Now, as somebody who reads a book, we got it. It's in the examples, which we didn't cover, but it's in the example, tells exactly how armor works in the example. But a rule should have a rule entry.
Yes, it shows how armor works. Doesn't tell you how armor works. It shows you.
And which section should that be in, Heathen Dog?
Armor? It should be in
Weird,
combat.
Huh?
Yeah, our armor section in combat. Yeah. Right after damage or right before damage. Either one. Take your pick. Technically I'd go before because armor happens before damage. So there you go.
So that's the point that we're making. It doesn't make the game a complete fail game. It just means that, you know, when we point these things out. So I'm going to address somebody right now. I don't know if he'll ever watch this video. He is a follower of ours. I like him. He's been following us for a long time. But Full Metal Dragon said that we give too much of a pass to Palladium. I don't have the exact comment quote in front of me, but because of all of its failings, but we call out other games. No, we've called out Palladium enough as well.
Especially in combat. Stop it.
Right.
Stop it.
The difference is this, and this is why I was very careful with what I said before about playing this game. I read the rule book. I know where to find the stuff in the rule book. That's actually one of the areas where Palladium kind of sucks, where sometimes you can't fight. We have a short of Kevin saying the same thing about his own game. Where the difference is this. This is a wargaming, right? I need to know specifically what the +1s and +2s and -1, -2s are because it's more of a tactical war game, and that stuff matters much more. In a role-playing game, I get annoyed by people that get hung up on that stuff. No, it should be +3, not +1. I'm giving you a +1. Roll your dang dice. I'm the game master because it's a role-playing game. The situation around you, I'm looking at that as a fair and reasonable game master and saying it's +1, and Palladium allows you to do that. That is where I give it the pass.
Yeah, Palladium is built as a framework, whereas a tactical war game is built on specific rules that must be followed. Because without that, the whole thing breaks down.
Now, let's go to the one other complaint, because this is what spurred this on. Somebody called me out, but it wasn't me. I even went back to watch the video to verify it wasn't me. While I generally agreed, I didn't care as much as him. He's talking about dash in Dragonbane. And how you can't dash in darkness?
Yeah, look, you can. You can run in complete darkness. It's stupid, but you can do it.
Right. So here's the point. But the rule says you cannot do it, right? Here's the thing. We both, and I'm going to speak for Heathen Dog for a second. He can absolutely correct me if he thinks I'm wrong in this. But we both understand that in a role-playing game, doesn't matter how definitive something in there. If it's definitive and it makes sense, go with it. If it doesn't make sense, you're the game master. You're the referee. You're the arbiter. Change it for that moment. It's okay. If somebody just has his heart set up, I'm going to dash. It's dark. I can't see anything. I'm going to do it. The reason it says you can't is for consistency's sake, and they didn't want to make some weird rules that started convoluting everything. But you can still allow somebody to dash. We complained about it because we quibble about things like that because we're freaking nerds.
Exactly. That's all it is. I mean, all you have to do is say, okay, you can dash complete darkness, but you have a 75% chance of not only tripping and falling halfway through, but also harming yourself. Go.
Right. If you don't roll a dragon, I'm going to say that something bad happens. You know, whether it's a failure or a success. Oh, you succeeded on a mobility roll or whatever it is in Dragonbane, I forget. Sure, you succeeded, but you didn't roll a dragon, so something bad still happens. You stepped on a nail, you tripped over something, you bounced off the wall, take a point of damage to your shoulder. I don't know. But I'm going to say something bad. You can make those rulings up. My issue with the Palladium stuff, going back to that, and I know this is on a video regarding Twilight 2000, so I'll end this in a second, but is that people argue about some of the rules being hard to find, which they are, but they act like they can't make their own decisions. Yeah. And this is where I say that a rules light game that is very detailed, like Twilight 2000, like Dragonbane, like Forbidden Lands, like Mutant Year Zero, have a limited number of rules to build the game, and they put everything in there. They do have to be more exacting. Palladium's rules are more of a framework.
Yeah, there's so many of them. There's so many of them for so many different scenarios that it's all but impossible to know all the rules all the time. It's all but impossible.
And if there's something missing for you, you just take the framework and make an adjudication. I think that they're written differently. I honestly say that while we've said that there are a couple of instances where it's really well, I hope the TMNT stuff is written much better, the new one that's coming out. But ultimately, yes, I do see them as a different writing style. There's a different writing style between a framework cinematic game and a rules light or crunchy, I don't care, encyclopedic type game. And I look at the Free League stuff as being more encyclopedic. So I am going to treat it differently. So that's not a rant, but that's my rationalization for that. I would look at Dungeons and Dragons the same way I do Palladium, or old Dungeons and Dragons, same way I do Palladium. On the other hand, Battlelords of the 23rd century, oh my God, that you have to read every little thing. So I hope that makes sense to folks. So
also, we have one more BioKiddo. This is about ramming. Does size count? Yes and no. Now the
armor value.
The value of your armor determines the weight of your vehicle in this instance. So the more in this instance rear armor for ramming, the more rear armor you have, the heavier your vehicle is, so it does more damage. Size is kind of like derived from that in your mind, but it's not a direct correlation.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because I mean, I don't remember there being a size value for vehicles, just armor value. So it's not like BattleTech where, what's a charge? 5 points for every
size category, whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's 5 points for every ton, if I remember, or not every ton. I cannot believe I forgot the rule. You take your tonnage and damage, the other person takes your tonnage times the amount, or divided by whatever, times the amount of hexes you moved. Again, in each case, just like this game, the attacker is in control of the amount of damage done. And that's the way it should be, because you're the one aiming for trying to get that and brace it, get that hit and bracing for it and so forth. The other person's like, oh God, he's coming in.
Not in the face.
Not the face, right? So cool. I hope you guys are liking this. Let me put up the little thing here. I hope you're liking this. I do agree that this is more wargamey here. I think that the rules for the vehicle combat were much better written than for personal combat, but they're all there. They're all written. You can figure out, and it seems... Well, that's written in an example, so it is written. It's just you have to read the examples. So I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage, and I hope you enjoy the game.